working from home, basically life. Just going to give it a minute or two for Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube to load up over here. So if you see me looking away, like I've got two different cameras. So let's cover that today, because what I think a lot of guys struggle with is losing weight and dealing with everyday life. Like I've said a million times, it was a bit like when I was single and I just lived on my own with a dog, no one else to really worry about. I could be very selfish. I could have, it was just, I could do what I wanted. And then when I moved in with my now fiance and her two children, life's different. We do more family things. They've got kids. We have, it's harder to deal with life and maintain the balance. And most of the men I work with are, 40 plus. They got kids, wives. Many of them are business owners, all kind of high up in the career. So a lot of them travel for work. One of the guys just spent a week, 4 or 5 days in Vegas. He comes back, then he's going somewhere else. Then and prior to that Vegas trip, he had a holiday with his wife. So navigating these things can be quite tough. And I'm not going to say it's easy. As I said, it would be great if our lives were just, it would be just easy if some of these men had just 9 to 5s and you could kind of plan it. But when you start to think about birthdays, traveling, all the other things, soon it's going to be like Halloween, bonfire night, Christmas, New Year. Then it will come around and it'll be birthdays and there's summer. At any time of the year, there are going to be things that make losing weight tough. And if you can't deal with those things, and you have no hope of ever succeeding, because like I've said a million times, unless you are, I don't know, you're going to retire maybe in a couple of years, or you're going to quit your job and maybe not have the kids to deal with and all the other stuff. These things aren't going away. So it's better to deal with them. And this is why, as a kind of side note, before I talk about how to do it, I always say to a lot of men, it's not good to wait for the right time to lose weight. Because a lot of you will wait for the right time and then you don't know how to deal with it when it's difficult. So let's talk about how to deal with social events when you're losing weight, how to make sure that you keep making progress, how to make sure that you learn how to deal with these long-term so that you never get stuck. Those on TikTok won't have the banners, but that's okay. Right. Number one, I feel like there are two parts to this. So when I work with guys who are busy, there are kind of two things we have to think about when trying to lose weight with normal life. Bear in mind, I work with people that aren't bodybuilders. So these men, not the men I work with, don't put their whole lives aside. They have to carry on with their lives and do this, which is what, probably everyone watching this now is going to be the case for you. I feel like it comes down to teaching them two things. Number one is strategy. So a lot of, one of the things guys will ask me, they'll say to me is, I don't know what to do to lose weight when this happens. Once they come into, when I'm talking about clients, they might say to me, Phil, I've got this business trip coming up. I've got this birthday. It's my wife's, it's my anniversary. What do you want me to do? How do I change the diet, or how do I change exercise to fit in for the week? How do I exercise from a hotel if I'm going away on business? Do you think it's time for me to have a rest? So this is the strategy. What do we do with training, calories, food choices? The best way I found to deal with this is to do what I like to call calorie budgeting. So for those who have not heard this before, or those who don't realize, I think a lot of men still feel like dieting has to be the same every day. Whether it's, if you're doing it by calories or portion sizes, it has to be the same every single day. I'll do another video on this, but let's say your calories are 2,000, 2,500. If they're the same every single day, it doesn't leave you with much flexibility. A great strategy then for those guys I work with, or for you, might be to say, right, and you might not realize you can do this, is actually to move calories to another time of the week. So you've got your 2,500 calories or your 2,000 calories every day. You can just drop them down 100 or 200, maybe 300, be a little bit more aggressive for 4 or 5 days. what that is going to do, of course, is it's going to save calories that you can use at another time. It's a bit like saving some money. It's like me saying you can spend this much every day, but if you only spend half of it on the last day of the week of a holiday, for example, you have more money. Think of it like that. Really simple. Most people don't realize you can do this. So that's one trick, I guess you could call it, one strategy, one hack that we use. That is probably the most important one, I would say. Because what that allows you to do is it allows you to look at your week as a whole. So think of it as, you might be watching this now and think, right, it's only Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday. At the weekend, I am, I don't know, going to the football with friends and I want to have maybe a couple of pints and maybe a meal in the pub. When you're dieting, for most people, that will seem like something you would never do. Well, the problem is what you're going to do. Are you going to avoid that? Are you going to do it anyway and then feel like you've messed up? So one thing you can do is during the week is just gradually take the calories down a little bit, save them for the end of the week. So that's a strategy. There are loads of things you can do. Something to really remember, I guess the most important thing to keep this kind of short is to understand that calories don't have to be the same every day for people that are trying to get in shape. This is why, as bodybuilders, sometimes we would have non-training day calories and training day calories for a different purpose, but it still works very, very well. So that's something to remember. If you are somebody who is willing to track your food a little bit, be a little bit more, take a little bit more time to understand portion sizes, then you can really do quite well with this kind of calorie budgeting strategy, moving things around. So that's the first thing, strategy, understanding that. I feel like most men don't know they can do this. So what they end up with is a situation where they go to social events or they work away from home, birthday parties, and they're just kind of forced just to have willpower. Now, this is even more difficult if you are somebody that believes in stuff like, I must follow a low carb diet, I can't eat after a certain time, alcohol will stop me losing weight. Of course, you can't have a lot of it, but if you believe in these kind of myths, it makes the idea of kind of long-term weight loss very, very hard. Think about, I've got clients that have been doing it with me, and this might not be relevant to you, but guys that have been with me for 6, 7, 8, 12 months, because that's how long they've needed. Well, the idea of missing social events, parties, and of course you typically won't miss them, but the idea of going to them and maybe missing out for a whole year, it's not very appealing. And I can understand why a lot of men aren't very motivated to begin when they believe that. So that's the first thing you can change is your strategy. Probably the easier of the two, to be honest. And then number 2, I'm going to change it on LinkedIn. Mindset. I hate to use the word mindset because it just sounds so stupid nowadays because everyone uses it. Maybe I could use the word attitude, but really what I'm saying is what goes up in here, what's going on in here is really, really important. Going back to the strategy, if you actually say to yourself, I'm going to save some calories for the weekend, and you go to then the weekend comes and you have a football match, or you have a party or a barbecue, or you're meeting a client, and you have saved yourself some calories, you actually have given yourself a little budget of calories to use at the weekend for things like maybe a beer or two or a nice meal in the pub. You still have to stick with it. So there would be no point doing all the strategy that I just talked about and then getting to the end of the week and having 1 or 2 beers, having that pub meal with your friends that you are able to have and continue to lose weight, and then losing your shit. And instead of having 2 pints, you have 5. Instead of having the 1 meal that you might have had, you have the meal, dessert, and then you go home and carry on binging. So this is where the mindset comes in with weight loss, this ability to maintain control. And this is a huge subject. We could talk about emotional eating. We could talk about dealing with peer pressure. Like I said, if you are trying to lose weight and you go out and you have friends that are saying, go on, have another beer, it takes quite a lot of balls. It takes balls to sometimes just say to friends, to family, and no, like I'm done. And then they'll be like, you're boring, or why are you being like this? So the mindset is very, very important in weight loss. the strategy that I just talked about in point number 1 is somewhat easy. It's very, very easy. I can just say, like, these are your calories for the week, right? And then the client will come to me and say, I've got a birthday on the weekend, or I've got to meet a client, or I've got X, Y, and Z. Or sometimes they might say, like, my client that's just gone away, I'm going to Vegas for business for 5 days. What do you want me to do? Strategy is easy. And that client who I just was just talking about, who has just been in Vegas, he got back today and he's like, that was tough. Like, I wasn't perfect, and that's great. You know, he didn't gain any weight, I don't think. He still trained every day. He still ate sensibly, but it wasn't easy. But still, the mindset he needed to go to Vegas for business and to not drink more than he was going to, and not just eat all the nice food and the buffets and stuff, that is incredibly difficult. And that is all in here. I guess for him, the reason why he has me as a coach is he needs the accountability of someone being like, what did you do? Why have you done this? You know, what are your results? But mindset is important. If you're going to be somebody who learns to balance, on one hand, you know, TikTok, the phone's camera is narrower. If you're on one hand, you're going to be this person that is in great shape, and on the other hand, you're going to be someone who wants to enjoy life. Balancing it is very, very tough. Most of the men I work with are poor at it. They are either super strict for a week or 2 or a month, maybe 6 months, very rarely, but, you know, for a short amount of time, and then they just fall off the wagon and they're either all in or they're all out. Being able to find the middle ground, to have balance, to be able to enjoy social events and kind of lose weight and enjoy yourself is tough. All about mindset. How can you fix that? I think it comes down to 3 things, possibly. 1 is your commitment to the goal. A lot of the men I work with are 40 plus, 50 plus. We've even got some guys that are over 60 now, and they have genuine reasons for wanting to lose weight. Health, because the doctor said they're diabetic or they're risk of heart attack. Kids, they want to be around for them, or they want to be better role models, or they just don't feel confident. You know, they just feel like shit. They have a strong reason to succeed. Very important. The other one would be support. People supporting you. That helps to get, you know, that helps with your mindset over time. And then accountability. People to call you out and say, look, you did this, this, and this, but you said you were going to do this. If you get these 2 things right, if you have good mindset, and of course you have, pop it back up, the strategy, the understanding of nutrition, and it isn't just nutrition. If you have an understanding of actual training as well, because you need to be able to adapt. When I say strategy, and when we talk about social events or life or things happening, you need the knowledge to be able to change the strategy. You need to be able to say to yourself, right, this isn't going to work here. I will do this instead for a few days and then go back to this. So it's just as much about education. But if you have that knowledge that you get from being educated, if you have that knowledge of strategy and you have a good mindset and you're kind of strong-willed, committed, then being able to lose weight, achieve your goals while there is things going on like birthdays, Christmas, holidays, is far, far easier. I had a client a few years ago who lost, and I mention him a lot because he's a good example, because he lost something like 7.5 stone, and it took about 13 and a half months. Think of he started around November. So he started with me in like November. He had to go through Christmas, New Year, holidays in the summer, several birthdays, his own and family members. He had to think of what he had to go through from November to kind of December the following year. Think about your last year. How many times in that last year have you had opportunities to overeat, overdrink, and or reasons to say sod it? Hundreds, possibly thousands. If you're somebody that kind of can find excuses with like emotional eating and stuff, possibly thousands of opportunities to do the wrong thing. That is where the mindset comes in. I hope this helps. This is really important because, you know, I don't think anyone who's over 40 with a job and a wife and kids, and who has maybe 10 plus pounds, if you've only got 5-10 pounds to lose, it's not such a big deal. But if you're watching this and you have 20 pounds, 30 pounds, like I had a guy message me today, he's got about 50 pounds to lose. And then, and of course, when we say lose, we also have to keep it off. If you are somebody who has this much weight to lose and it's going to take 3, 6, 12 months to achieve, if you don't learn to be able to deal with social events, working away from home, birthdays, Christmas, if you can't deal with these things that make dieting tough, how are you ever succeed? This is why people yo-yo diet. They do it for a period of time when it's convenient or they're motivated. Something comes along, birthday, they think, oh, I'll have a bit of food, I'll have a few beers, and they fall off the wagon. They think, oh, and then that becomes the 3 or 4 months they're off. They gain the weight back. They realize they need to do it. They try again. And then this is a pattern that men go through for years. So breaking this cycle and being able to say to yourself, right, I am somebody that no matter what happens, whether I'm working away from home, I've got a birthday, got an anniversary, I know how to deal with these things and I have the mindset to deal with it, is crucial. And I will finish the training with that. Now, of course, if you are thinking to yourself, well, I would like some help with this, like I've talked about, the things that typically help the men I work with, the strategy, giving them the plans to follow, training, diet, that kind of thing, so they don't have to think about it. And then the support, the community, and the accountability, because, for the most part, these things are harder to deal, are easier to deal with when you've got people holding you accountable. So if you go to a birthday party or you travel for work and no one really knows your goals or anything, no one's holding you accountable, you can say to yourself, I'll start again next time. I'll start again in a week. But when you've got a coach there saying, what did you do? What did you eat? And you've got a group of other men who also go, how are you getting on? It becomes quite tough to cock it up. So if you'd like some help, I can't help everyone. I always say this. The best thing you can do if you are on Facebook, LinkedIn, is just send me a message or comment help below. If you are on TikTok, then of course you can follow me. I'll follow you back and send me a message, or you can just use the link I have in my bio, which will take you to a little application form. You can give me a little bit of information and we can see if I can help you. And if not, I'll probably just say, maybe try this person or read this book or try this resource. Right, 20 minutes, that is probably enough. Time for some food. Hope that helps. You know where I am. If you have any follow-up questions or if you would like some more information about coaching and how it might help you. Right, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm off.